Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Another very, very dark morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. A very cold and perhaps even rainy Helsinki, Finland. Can hear it throughout the whole night. But you know what? We got a few things to talk about with good old price action today, and also a few announcements for the Christmas holiday week. Sorry, happy holidays, because don't ban me, YouTube. Anyways, for the holidays and New Year's incoming, going to be doing a 20% off sale. There is no code needed. All that is needed is to go onto the new website, crowntrading.net, which I actually show right here. The link is in the description below. This is what it'll look like right on over here. The learning programs. There's the TA program, the technical analysis program, which is this guy right here. Then the options program and the Joule indicators, which will be coming actually relatively soon. So I'll actually do a dedicated video towards that, probably posted tomorrow, as those will be ready later this week. But more importantly, with these two programs right here, I always want to make sure that's a good fit. So if you are kind of on the edge about it, definitely reach out to me to make sure that it's a good fit. Usually the biggest thing that I want to make sure on my end is that you can actually like benefit from it, that you can actually use it to your own, to your own best ability. And that comes down to time allotment, essentially. So, if you are strapped for time, understand that both of these programs each are actually probably over 35 hours long now, as the TA programs, I think about 44 videos, started off with about half that, and the options program, I believe a little over 50 videos itself. So it's going to take a lot of time. They're meant to be watched over time as well, and as well as multiple times, over the trajectory of your career. So again, these are really for more dedicated people who want to take, who want a little bit more of a curated approach, essentially. So when it comes down to that, I always want to be very, 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 very open and honest, because I want to make sure that's a good fit. So I'll let you be the judge of that. Of course, if you want a video explaining it, there's actually videos accompanying it right in over here, and soon to come for the Joule as well. So yeah, I'll kind of get off this topic because, well, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, I suppose, when it's actually like fully live. But yes, that'll be going live later tonight at 12 a.m. UTC, whatever fucking midnight is UTC. Okay, there it is. And no code is needed. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So what other announcements do we have to get into? Yes, the Krown Trading app is actually going to be set to go. I believe tomorrow we're aiming for. It's really, 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 really cool, and I'm so fucking happy that we are so. This has been the focus of everything for the past, Jesus Christ. I mean, this has been ongoing for about 10, 12 months now. And really starting to get quite towards completion this past week. So we'll be bringing that out. I'll have an official announcement for that as well. The base function of the application is going to be 100% free. Of course, the programs are going to be on there. They are hosted on there, as well as the website, and also the Joule indicators will be hosted on there as well. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be available to all platforms on all devices. And again, we're going for either tomorrow, the 23rd, or the 24th. So one of the sometime during these next 2 days, as soon as we get kind of like the final, kiss on it, I will let you know, and it'll be there available for everyone to use. So really excited about that. What else do we want to talk about? Yes, Jackie's video is coming out tomorrow. We did a little bit of a psychology video plus explaining his mentoring group. So I will post that either later tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm thinking tomorrow morning. I understand that this week's going to be kind of busy for a lot of people because, well, it is the holiday week, of course. And I'm actually going to be going out to the forests of Finland, like deep inside the forests of Finland. So so I will be I'll be a little bit offline, probably more than I usually am, anyways. But all good. So I do want to say that hey, if you are trying to reach me during this week, I'll do my best to get back, of course, as always. But understand that I actually will be out of the office a little bit, so I always have my phone with me. But yeah, just feel like it's a good idea to explain that. Okay, cool. Other than that, I think it's time for me to wish you the best and the happiest. And we've already teleported in here, so let's get down and deep and dirty into this magical internet money business right now. So Bitcoin going more sideways, just as we spoke about for these last few days. The more sideways that we do go within this region, the weaker and weaker that it does look. I do not look at this as a bull flag, as most people are kind of saying right now. I believe that if this was going to get continuation, we would have seen it probably either here on the 18th or the 19th at the latest. Dragging on longer and longer does not imply strength. It implies weakness. And when you do look for a major market low, you want to see that area protected and not really give people a second chance to get in. And the longer that we go sideways here, especially below the 21 exponential moving average, the more and more weak this looks to me. But of course, my opinion on this is second to the critical areas that we're looking at. And if we go on over here to our lower time frames, we'll just start to flush this. We'll just start to flush this whole bitch out. Just want to make sure that I'm recording and my microphone's working. Oh yeah, and I forgot to talk about Twitch. Hey, by the way, we've been doing all these live streams on Twitch. Link will be in the description as well. They've been really fucking fun, man. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out. So if you have been missing the live stream on YouTube, well, that is the new and improved venue. Anyways, looking at the 4 hour right here, we are seeing, we are kind of seeing a little bit of a symmetrical triangle shape itself out, although I don't really trust lower time frames on, on the weekends especially, but something like this is what we're kind of doing right now. In fact, is it a symmetrical triangle or is it a potential ascending triangle? Something like this is what I'd be looking for. So technically an ascending triangle as it stands. Now, am I playing this? No, absolutely not. Took a few scalps yesterday during the live stream. Now just kind of chilling back and enjoying. But it would imply that if we do break to the top side of this, if we do break back above even just this prior high right here at about 72.20, we'll call it. Let's see, what was this wick high? 72.30. This one's 72.20. Let's call it 72.30, 72.25. Then yes, I would look for another retest of the 4 hour 200 simple right around 73.50. Now keep in mind that does not break the overall structure of this, even on the lower time frames, and of course we'll get to higher time frames later. So even if we did break out to the upside here, still have to get through this point 73.50, and I would even say that it's more important to me to see a higher high printed above the initial high that we saw on 18th of December, 74.48 and a quarter on stamp. And of course it's going to be different on exchanges, but essentially the same thing. If we do get back above there, I would consider this a breakout to the upside, and I would be looking for a move that goes all the way over to like 78, maybe even 7,900. So another $400, $500 move, which is very much tradable in this market right now. By the same token, could we break out to the downside? Yes, absolutely. In fact, I would say that the odds are more in favor of the downside here, but I'm not trading this right now, and I would say that if we do break to the downside, I'd be looking for a move back down to about 69.50. But for now, Bitcoin just going sideways, and I do believe that we'll probably have to wait until CME's open a little bit later tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern time, I believe it is, for us to get any sort of a movement, which, by the way, CME's closed the week at 72.30, so we probably do actually maintain this whole wedging formation right here until that time. I don't think that we're going to see anything crazy going, as we've been saying for the past 2 days. This is, a holiday week, and I'd imagine that most of the bigger traders are going to be taking it off, and most of the bigger traders, with their families and their kids, their dogs, and shit that I don't have. So fair enough, man. I'll be the one fucking weirdo here trading with you all, my friends. Anyways, for all of those who are going to be with your family, I do wish you well, of course, as well. Anyways, looking at the lower time frames, do we see anything obvious here? We do see 4 hour Stokes turning back up. So looking like the bears, if they were going to break to the downside yesterday, I believe we would have seen it already. So I'm going to be, I'm going to be right about us ranging. I'm going to be wrong about us testing the downside of the range. Just going more sideways here, really. 4 hour RSI is, neither bullish nor bearish, completely neutral. And let's see if the lower time frames agree with this, or how much they agree with this. And sorry, I forgot to mention that the 4 hour historical volatility percentile is actually contracting right now. So we are setting up for likely another big move. Looking at 3 hour Stokes, they are still coming down. They're going to be testing the edge of the bearish control zone relatively soon. Now, 3 hour Joule actually is going to be lining up for a kind of sell posture perhaps soon if we don't get another leg up. Do we have some potential hidden bullish divergence on the 3 hour? Actually, I believe we do. If we can confirm this as a local low, which have we already done that? Let's see. No, we've still come a little bit shy of doing that. But if we do get back above about 71.80, then yes, it will be in there. I'm going to turn off this bottom thingy. I think it's kind of wrecking my charts right now, my charting action. Let's go over here to check out the 2 hour. Again, do we see anything obvious? I think the most obvious thing here is that the 200 simple on the 2 hour is kind of governing our highs within this lower time frame formation. So yes, if we do get a close above there, I would look for extension to 73.50, maybe even 7400, and that's where things start to get interesting from the higher time frames, of course, we spoke about earlier. And by the same token to the downside, I'd be looking for a move to 69.50-ish region. 2-hour momentum oscillators actually pointed up right now, finding support in the same area that we found earlier in the week. 2-hour RSI is neither bullish nor bearish. 2-hour Joule is actually more on the bearish side for sure, but that's a 2-hour on a fucking weekend. More importantly, we do see 2-hour historical volatility percentile absolutely crushed here. So we are very likely to get a move probably sometime between the open of CMEs later today and then the open of traditional markets tomorrow. Monday, that is. So that will be 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. High probability that we actually do get a move, and I would say it's very, very likely to test either the upside or the downside of the range. So that would be 73.50 the upside, 69.50, 6900-ish to the downside. So probably looking at a $200, $300 move in this next 24 to 36 hour period between that time. So again, it's usually a pretty quiet week in traditional markets, the week of the holidays, and usually it's an up week as well. And the markets don't really need any help more. They don't really need any more help than they actually have right now. But looking at the hourly right here, another major read saying that we probably do have a nice move, very, very likely in this next 24-hour trading period. And I'd say it's probably going to be a couple $100 move. Again, just filling out the range. Looking at hourly RSI, it's certainly more on the bearish side. We don't see that same sort of hidden bullish divergence there. In fact, in hourly Stokes are actually coming down. So we do see a little bit of bifurcation, which probably tells me that we probably do test a little bit on both sides. It doesn't really give me like a set bias. It just gives me like kind of a range bias essentially. Don't think that we break the range, but I do think that we test probably both sides of the range. In fact, looking at the expected moves chart with respect to historical volatility percentile, we do see, just historical volatility, we do see that the first standard deviation is actually a 100% accurately representing the major areas for both sides in our current range. So it actually is quite likely that we test both. 69.50 to the downside of the first standard deviation and 73.50 to the upside of the first standard deviation. That sounds really fucking familiar now, doesn't it? That's basically this guy right here. If we break this guy right here, I would look for another major move down to about 65, 6,600 and probably continuation from there. By the same token to the upside, 73.50 is coming in line with this last ascending triangle. In fact, descending trend line right here. In fact, Bitcoin's actually rallying right now. There might actually even be something to do relatively soon if we do get this move. So that'd be kind of nice if we could catch this on video. It's been a while. But overall, remember this trend line right here, make no mistake about it, it is still governing price action. And if we, whether we fit it to wicks, whether we fit it to bodies, which I do put more weight on bodies, kind of coming in the same region. So again, showing the same area essentially. And keep in mind that 73.50 would actually be right in line with the 200 simple on the 4-hour, which has been a good harasser of price action ever since the major downfall that when we lost it in early November, it looks like. So again, a lot of things to be aware of on the lower time frames, but as always, it's the higher time frames that really dictate the macro direction. So let's start to move on into the medium time frames now. Here's a 12-hour, still holding the 21. I would say that it's appropriate to extrapolate from this that as long as we hold the 21, you can say that Bitcoin's still consolidating within this region right here. We do have all of these rising wicks here. So, the bulls actually are starting to construct an okay case for themselves. But still, the critical areas of defining this price action are more or less the same. And in fact, what we could do if we wanted to represent this with horizontals is I'd actually put one right here at the last 12-hour high and say if we do close any sort of a 12-hour dildo above there, I'd look for a very, very likely move to about 76 and probably extension over time to 78.50, 7,900 up here. But for now, we could also say by the same metric, if we do break the 21 exponential moving average, which is 71.28 and a half on GDAX, probably check your exchanges. It will be a little slightly different. I would look for a move down, not just to the 10 simple, but all the way down here into this next liquid zone, which is actually going to be between about 69.50 and 68.80-ish region. So right around here. Again, wouldn't break the range or anything like that, but would set us up for more of an allotment of or more of a structure of this of this ascending triangle on our lower time frames actually. Which as long as we are holding this trend line right here, that is very much valid. And keep in mind that this descending triangle does have an apex coming in. Let's see when it actually officially comes in. It does have an apex coming in middle of January. So that means that somewhere around here, actually, early January, later this week to early January, we are actually quite likely to break this. Typically, these things like to break when they're about 69 to 75% full. They burst out, and I'd say that's about right around here. It becomes extremely, extremely likely. So still, as long as Bitcoin holds this trend line right here, again, to kind of wrap it up on the lower time frames, we're overall bearish. Doesn't mean that we can't break it, but I would like to see that first before, I kind of switch around my lower time frame ideas, and that could have an avalanche of effects of leading us back up to the upper 7,000s. But for now, as long as we're below it, I would just be looking for Bitcoin to fill out this region right here. You can see that we actually do have a little bit of a smaller descending triangle within a greater descending triangle. In fact, the volume signature does mostly match up with this, especially on Mexico, which I was looking at earlier. Not as much on GDAX, but no, well, it is present there on the greater formation actually. But on the smaller formation, we are constructing something new within this region. So there are multiple things going on, and I would say that usually tells me that it's time to kind of just sit back and watch for my own trading activity. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I would say that we probably get resolution on this smaller triangle today or tomorrow, in this next 36-hour trading period, and then on the greater whole, probably no later than early January. And of course, historical volatility percentile on the very lower time frames, like the 2 hour and the hourly, remember, is set to expand. It's showing us that we do have likely a big move coming. Anyways, on the medium time frames, it's still telling us that we're contracting. So what that likely aligns with is, decent move today, maybe $200, $300, in this next, in like early on in this current week. I shouldn't say today, like in this next couple days, most likely. And then probably later on in the week, early January, we do get like a big move, resolving the whole range. God damn it. But here's the thing. As I look at camera number 2, remember, higher time frames rule the world, and the higher time frames are quite suggestive right now. We see the 12-hour Stokes, which have been the thing to follow. We're actually looking like they want to cross down. Now we will officially cross the downside if we do confirm the next 12-hour close here in the next 4 hours and 14 minutes, anywhere here or lower. So that's basically anywhere below 7,200, I'd imagine, but especially below 7,150. So if we do close this next one below there, I do put the odds on the favor of more downside. Remember, we do have hidden bearish divergence on the higher time frames. 12-hour RSI making significantly higher highs back on over from early December and late November, and significantly lower highs right on over here in the context of an overall downtrend. We also do see that we are still kind of expanding on 12-hour historical volatility percentile, which does tell me that we are maintaining the trend overall, and it's still important, and it's in following the current trend is still the modus operandi, the fucking MO is what I'm trying to say. Looking at the daily right here, same thing. As long as we are below the yellow 21 exponential moving average, I am overall bearish. I cannot be bullish until we get back above there, even on like a short to medium time frame. Well, for short time frames, we can ebb and flow there. But where's the 21 coming in at? 7,250. I need to see close above there. Yeah, at 7,250, almost to the dot. And of course, all major moving averages on a daily are bearish. We see all major moving averages with a negative slope, even the 10 simple, which is currently cradling price action. So I'm sure the bulls are looking at this as a bull flag. The bears are looking at this as a lower high. And if this is going to be a lower high, I expect to see hidden bearish divergence present here as well. And it is on the daily, very, 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 very pronounced actually. Again, same points. And the longer that we go sideways here, the less and less strong it does look. Not only that, but daily Stokes are going to be approaching the region where they typically find some resistance in for the past couple of months, going all the way back to September essentially. In fact, if we do make a nice trend line right here, basically connecting all of our major highs from early September, which was Bitcoin on this last rally to about 11,000, which was rejected. Then this guy right here, this guy right here, on a rally, on a $3,000 rally. Then this guy right here more recently at about 7,600. And then once again right here, still maintaining the same downtrend from that whole area. It does say that pressure likely does get applied once again. Not only that, but of course, I do think that it's appropriate to say that all lower periods are trading below higher periods. We've had a very similar signature to this in the past. I'm not going to say that this is a fractal. It's not a fucking fractal squirrels. God damn it. But what it is, it's still quite important. It's a very, moving averages are very important in this way, in the sense that you can find, certain overlays that over time are going to trigger off a lot of bot activity. Just by the nature of their programming. And looking at it back on over here, we have our death cross back in May of 2018 with the green crossing below the purple. You see that. You see all lower periods trading below higher periods right as soon as the cyan 89 exponential moving average moves below the purple 200 exponential moving average. We get caught below the 21. The 21 holds it the whole way through on this downtrend. It's not until we actually regain the 21 where any sort of a rally attempt can be had. And the 200 simple and all major moving averages actually get a negative slope along the way. And that really sets on our long-term trajectory. So if we were to really have a major breakout to the upside, I do not think that Bitcoin gets past the 200 simple, or at least as long as it's below the 200 simple on the daily. I have no real reason to believe that we are anything but long-term bearish. Now, on the short to medium term, we can still rally up, about $2,000 from this price point and fill out that range to that region. But would it change the macro? No, not really. And more importantly, we have the exact same setup that we had over here, currently happening right and over here. Bitcoin gets a death cross right here, all lower periods below higher periods right here as the cyan passes below the 200. We get negative slopes on all major moving averages, most notably the 200 simple, this white guy right here. And then we do see then we see price action being held below the 21 the whole way through. So as long as we are below the yellow 21 exponential moving average, I would say that we are likely to move further down, as all major moving averages are bearish here. If we did have some sort of a bear market rally, I would say that your obvious targets are going to be on a daily to about 7,800, 7,900 in this region right here. If that area does get taken out to the upside, I would look for extension to about 84, 8,500. And then if that area gets taken out, then yes, a full-on test of the 200 simple is probably in order. But that still doesn't change the macro, and I do think that it's appropriate to always be aware of the macro trend, as a trend is your friend if you let it be. And in this case, the trend is down on all time frames. In fact, we haven't even made a higher high on the daily until we get back above about 75.50ish region and close the daily dildo above there. So Bitcoin still has a lot of work to do as it really struggles in the lower echelons of this range. Looking at the 2-day, same sort of thing. In fact, the 2-day is very, very obvious right here, and I would say that the 2-day is actually probably one of the better charts for Bitcoin. It seems to get the price action more or less more right. We see the same sort of descending triangle being printed on the lows. Let me actually get another fresh chart. Well, okay, we'll just do it on this one. We see a descending triangle, with the base right around 6,900 and declining tops coming in from these prior highs, which is currently at around 7,250ish region. So as long as we are under 7,250, Bitcoin is heavily bearish. I can say that with I say that with great respect, but you know what I mean. It's heavily bearish to me as long as we're below that region. By the same token, if we do take out the last 2-day low and confirm this as another local high and a lower high, then guess what? We have a big problem. We have a big problem, as Bitcoin will have hidden bearish divergence initiated, and I would look for, at the very least, a test back down to 68.50, and probably going to be good enough to break this baby, all the way down. The measured move off of this ascending triangle, as we showed yesterday, is pointed all the way down here towards 61.50. And if we were to take, I would imagine, if we were to take some sort of a fib retracement of this, we're probably going to have some sort of an extension down there. Let's see if that matches up, or let's actually do this with bodies rather than wicks. And we do see, yes indeed, we do see the 272, we do see, let me get this exactly right. Yeah, we do see the two, just a straight up fucking 2 right here. Right in line with that 61.50ish target. If that were to happen, again, first I need to see us take us out the last prior 2-day low on Stamp, on GDAX. This is 70.44.5. Mexico, it's like 70.30. Stamp is like 7,000 even just ticking below there. That would be bad enough to bring us back down to 68.50. If we actually close a 2-day dildo below that region, which is also essentially the white 200 simple right here for this time frame, then yes, I will look for a move down to the lower 6,000s region. I'm curious if that lines up with anything on the volume profile here. Yeah, it's the last of these higher value nodes actually in this region before the full-on wash down to the mid 5s or even like the lower 5s, in fact. So yes, it would make sense that we probably do have a nice bounce off that territory. And I'm sure that a lot of people are aware that we are in actually somewhat of a falling channel right now. Now, the bulls are calling this a bull flag. This is in no way, shape, or form a bull flag, but it is a falling channel. It does work. It does more or less work as one. It's not perfect. The volume signature is certainly not perfect, but something like this, these typically do break out to the upside. But the problem with them is that you can get stuck in them for, I've seen assets get stuck in these for years, but they typically do break out to the upside, to be fair. So, you could see that we would still be following the downside trajectory of this. And especially if we broke this out, at the kind of the date that we're thinking at, late January, it would align actually directly in line with this bottom side trend line of this region. So, I would look for a decent bounce there, maybe even a reversal. But of course, I do not have anything to really discuss for Bitcoin as far as reversals go. until we at the very least create an uptrend on the weekly. So I want it to be no surprise where I change my mind on these charts, because I'm not going to be able to call the ultimate high or the ultimate low. I was bullish over here. I was bearish as soon as we broke 10.3. I was bullish over here. I was bearish as soon as we put in a as soon as we put in the lower high at 16.5. I was bearish over here, and I was bullish as soon as we created a higher high right here. But that means I'm never going to catch the ultimate high or the ultimate low. So Bitcoin needs to prove itself to me. For it doesn't need to do anything, but I want to see Bitcoin prove that it's actually had a change of trend first on a weekly before changing my mind, and that has been the best way to trade Bitcoin since eternity, really. So yeah. Anyways, looking at this right here, I mean, again, is this a bull flag? No, it's not. It's dragged down for way too long. If this was a bull flag, you would have seen a break like in middle of September at the latest. Anyways, so yeah. On the weekly, or sorry, we didn't really go over the 3-day, but 3-day, again, I can't really be super bearish on Bitcoin as long as we are above the 3-day 200 simple, and we won't be closing another 3-day until tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So as long as we're above 69.50, or yeah, 69.50, I'm not really like looking for that major breakout to the downside. And same thing for the upside. If we do break back above even just the last 3-day high, which again was about 74.50 region, I would actually look for extension all the way up here, 77.50, perhaps even beyond there. So yeah. Looking at momentum oscillators, 3-day Stokes are probably crossing the upside. They are. 2-day Stokes are doing the same thing as well. So, there certainly is some threat of going higher here. It's just, I would still, respect the former trend, and, I'm not really going to be trading today anyways, but fair enough. Anyways, going on to the weekly. All major moving averages are pretty nasty here, especially the yellow 21 exponential moving average and the red 10 simple. These guys have in the past accurately called many things, but more importantly, they have called just the major 70% drop down. So not only is getting across bad, the lower period below the higher period, which we see here, which we see here, which we see over here, and I think that goes all the way back to the Genesis essentially. The more important thing about that is actually the slopes of both these guys. Anytime we get negative slopes on both, the prior high typically shaves off about 70%. So we have this example right here. They both get negative slopes. Take the prior high, go to the next low, 71% down. Then they kind of get positive slopes for a little bit. And then we have this next major move from like 10 to 3, another 68% down right there. We don't see negative slopes on both all the way through there, of course, but we do see right on over here, take the prior high to the next major low. What do you know? 77.75%. This another example right here, negative slopes, prior high to next low, 71%. On this guy right here, negative slopes, prior high to next low. 77.5%. So again, we do have the same signature right and over here, and both of them crossing as well, which I do think, really does put downside pressure on this asset. About 68% would put us in the mid 4s, and 70% would put us a little bit above 4,000, which you can kind of see is going to be around where the 377 is going to be crawling itself up around, probably in February, March of this coming year, if we had to do a little bit of a dissection onto this. So I actually do like the 377 for a long term, but it typically does hold a lot of weight in traditional markets because assets have a lot more history. Bitcoin, I think, is maybe just old enough now to where this is going to start to matter on a weekly. Anyways, more importantly, furthermore onto the topic, weekly RSI is still heavily bearish here. Weekly Jewel is the thing is like we got a continuation sell signal from your middle of July signal, which was like in the 5 digits, and we've already had another $1,000 down from this signal right here. So is it reasonable to think that we have already played that out? I think so. I mean, from top to bottom, that is about 22% move. I mean, that's pretty significant there. So it does make me a little bit apprehensive to think that we do continue further down before getting a little bit of a bouncy bounce to the upside. Filling out maybe like the mid to low 8s would kind of make sense longer term. But again, that's neither here nor there. We have to deal with the price action in front of us, and right now that's all that we got. In fact, more importantly, we can look at the monthly, which is going to be closing relatively soon. I think less than or about a week now, a little bit over a week, maybe 8 days perhaps. And the monthly closing anywhere below the 21 exponential moving average, which is 70.92, so about 7,100, would be quite bearish to me, and I would look for a move all the way down, probably to the 55, which is, look at that, right in the mid to low 5,000s. So we do see momentum oscillators turning around bearish, monthly Stokes rejecting the bullish control zone and down, monthly RSI rejecting the bullish control zone, rejecting the exponential and down. I really don't like the RSI read, the stochastic read. You could make an argument for, but yeah, it's I would say the RSI takes precedence there, especially for the longer term trend. But again, I put the most weight on the 21 here. So until we actually, confirm that below, I wouldn't get too bearish on this price action. But if we do, if we do say we do, then say I do, then yes, I'd be looking much, much lower really. Anyways, going back on over here, let's talk about long-term potential targets. So pretty obvious ones really. Currently, our last major lows that we put in this liquid zone right here, do have to mark that off. Does match up very well with volume profile, I'd imagine. Indeed it does. And that's kind of where I'd be looking for on the, again, it's still technically a potential bottoming area until we actually fully and formally break it to the downside. Oops. Hey, there we go. Nice little alert. And then the next liquid zone that I see would be right around here, 6150, which is actually the measure move off of this guy right here, if you recall. But I don't think that thing's bottom there. I think that we'd have a nice little bouncy bounce there. Next area is right around here, 55 to about 57. And then the area below that would be right around here, right around about 44 and 45. So longer term, yeah, I do think that Bitcoin bottoms out at one of these areas. You do see that the volume profile agrees mostly, especially with the mid to low 4,000s region, and the mid 5s is actually not really outlined by anything in the volume profile, but it would make sense because we do have kind of a gap in this, and gaps are almost better explained with looking at the volume profile because the market wants to come back and make sure that everyone was on the same page in that region. They want to make sure that liquidity actually is there, and assets typically like to float towards areas of higher liquidity. So when we actually, just completely crumble our whole way through to the downside and then just rocketed to the upside on both, sides, that is usually going to come back and fill in and spend some time in there. You want to think of the volume profile as kind of like building a building and building like a strong foundational structure. And you can build higher buildings off of a stronger foundation, and think of like a stronger foundation as a bigger volume profile read, like higher value nodes essentially. Would you see right here? Would you see right here? Would you see right here? This provides a strong base, but we kind of skipped a few steps. We in this pyramid, in the mid 5s. So it actually would make a lot of sense. I know a lot of people are calling for mid 5s. I'm sure that it probably lines up with some fibs as well. Let's see one from this angle. Okay, so our current one, we're kind of on the 618, it looks like. In the middle here, yeah, in the mid 5s, we do have the 786, and then guess what? In the mid to low 4s, we got the 886. Both historically, Bitcoin does like those areas. In fact, if we go over here to the BLX index, which I have this already charted out, you do see that Bitcoin bottomed out and has a history of bottoming out on the 886 in the past market cycle, and actually the market cycle before that as well, back on over here in 2011, 2012. So these are long-term Fibonacci sequences there, and it does show that Bitcoin, does have a history of playing off that one. So more or less okay. Again, more of an experimental idea. But hey, it works for now. It's a working idea for now. And of course, it agrees with the volume profile and also horizontals as well. So I really like all of those interplays. And if we do go back on over here to the weekly and we do look at the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average, guess where they're coming in around? The 200 exponential is right around the mid 5s. The 200 simple is going to be crawling its way up there as well. And then of course the weekly 377, as we looked at on the BLX, which is the longest running data. We're going to see that crawl up into the mid to low 4s relatively soon as well in the next couple months. So all of those areas, potential reversal areas, extremely strong likelihood for bounce, and shit, that includes the current area that we're on right now. Of course, don't get me wrong, if Bitcoin does take out that prior high, I do strongly believe that we will be working our way higher, into the upper 7,000s, like 78 to 79, and that really opens up the door. And realistically, I think that we actually, probably consolidate there a little bit and then head on up to like mid 8s probably. What's up, MT Ulisante? Good to meet you, man. Welcome to the cave, my friend. In fact, I realize now that, well, whatever, I'll deal with it later. Anyways, Bitcoin selling off hard from that region. Bear Jesus is back in this market, and he has his red dildos ready. You have believed in false prophets. No, just kidding. It looks like we're just having a quick retest of former resistance, now acting as support thus far. par, but still just playing at the lower time frame range. And again, historical volatility percentile, even on the hourly, not getting, not even reacting to this move as it is. We're still kind of consolidating this region, but it's looking very mature now. It's looking very mature. I do think that we get this move probably in the next 24 hours, if not 36 hours. Okay, cool. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance. I want to imagine that it's maybe in for a small pullback is what we said yesterday, but overall, yeah, likely a small pullback down around here, like 69 and a quarter, 69 and a third. But longer term, I'm very, very bullish on this. The weekly is incredibly bullish. We see momentum oscillators turning back up. So very, very short term, alts are probably going to go up. But medium to long term, I'd be looking for them to actually come back down quite a bit. And I do believe that we will work our way up after meeting our first couple targets in the mid 70s up to about 71.50 and 72% actually. And probably beyond there over time. It looks good. It looks very good. So looking at Cardano, I'd be looking for probably a bounce just across the lands. Where's my shit? Sorry, my beautiful Cardano's over here. Where are you, beautiful bastard? You? Where is it? Really? Did I get rid of it? No, I didn't. And are we having a bouncy bounce here? Yes, indeed we are. Again, it's kind of like flagging out on the lows, what it's really doing, but it has had a few percentage move off the lows, I suppose. And I'd imagine the same thing for most alts. They're going to be bouncing versus Satoshis. And then the next move that we see on Bitcoin, whether it's to the upside or the downside, is probably going to wreck them once again. So yeah, same thing on Mr. Buteral, maybe back up to like 1,088,000 or 880. How the fuck do you say it? No one, ugh, too hard, man. Too many words. Litecoin, Bitcoin, same thing, having a nice bouncy bounce. Actually did hit our target right around 577. And I'd imagine all the other ones probably similar. But I don't really want to go through them right now. Let's go look at the dollar pairing for these guys. I am trying to keep this video on the shorter side. Oh fuck, I forgot to talk about the VWAP ratio. Still bearish as fuck, man. If we get that blue below the purple, I'd expect another 6 months to a year of downside. But it's not quite there just yet. In fact, it had a nice little rebound. Difficulty ribbon is contracting on itself as we come into the halving date, which is pretty par for the course on Bitcoin. But the contraction phase coming into that region, a little bit more aggressive in this current trajectory. So it does have a history of doing that, but that's not really good for the bulls there. Looking at weekly, Litecoin looks very bad here. Anyways, let's go through Mr. Buteral on the dollar. Again, I do think that it's in a bounce area, as we said yesterday, and we are bouncing from yesterday. I think we bounced up a couple bucks, but I do think that you're going to have a very difficult time getting past 140 region. Now, if it does get past 140, I would extend the bouncy bounce maybe back up to like 150, 160. But again, it's going to mirror whatever Bitcoin does. On the longer term, it is very much bearish and very aggressive downtrend here. Litecoin, same thing. Critical area would be about 43 and a quarter. Still not all that great, but is in a bouncy bounce area. If things really got crazy to the upside, I'd look for a move to like 51, 52 perhaps. Again, going to follow whatever Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin works its way into the upper 7,000s, that's what we'd be looking for. Stellar, same thing, but very nasty. I mean, this one, I don't think that there's... McCaleb, he is the most trustworthy person. Monero, again, in a bouncy bounce area, but strong resistance right around this past prior high at 53 and 3/4. As long as we're below there, bearish over the long term. Ripple, 19 and a quarter. We did hit our downside target in the mid to low 17-cent region. Now kind of bouncing up. I do think that it's still overall bearish. If this one does get going to the upside, like 21 cents where I'll be looking towards, but bearish, very, very bearish as long as we're below like 23 and a quarter. EOS, what's EOS doing? Same thing. Wow, crazy. Another lower high. Fucking crazy. Neo, same thing. Well, Neo's actually a little bit better than the other ones, it looks like. Again, gonna follow the rest of the market. If it does want to test the upside, like $9.90, $10, where I'll be looking towards. Tron Cash looks like it's actually put in a nice local low right here for now. Maybe works its way back up to like 1.6. Bcash 189 and a half. Same thing, coming off the same sort of support. Saying the same thing around the whole market. Zcash already faded its whole rally. Not good. And BNB. BNB looking on the whole a lot better than most other things. Again, going to do whatever the rest of the market does. So whatever Bitcoin likely does, going to mirror that most likely. Anyways, go see how this last move did. Oh man, did we get rejected this trend line once again? Holy shit. crazy shit. As long as we're holding this downtrend, it is still heavily bearish, even on the lower time frames, and that is where our last rejection is coming from. So as long as we're closing 4-hour doldrums below 7,200, I have to be overall quite bearish. However, I'm not really playing these lower time frames right now, except for anything other than scalps. And right now, I don't really have any scalps open, so I don't really care to even do that. Getting rid of some of these drawings. So let's start to wrap this up. If we do move back above this past prior high, 7,200 on a 4-hour doldrum close, or even just take out 7,230 to the upside on Mexico, I would look for a move up here towards 7,350, 7,400. If we can start closing 4-hour doldrums above there, this starts to look a lot better for a test up to 7,550, and that is where things start to change. Actually, things start to change back above this prior high right here, 7,450 on the daily. That would open up and likely lead to a rally to like 7,800, 7,900 over the next few days, or whatever it ends up being, and potential to get into the mid to low 8,000s. But for now, as long as we are following this area, especially on the lower time frames, I'm heavily bearish, even though I'm not really in position and don't really care to be on today. But I would say that if we do break to the downside, I would look for us to take out the past prior 2-day low, which again is about 70.40 or 70.30 on Mexico and GDAX, not respectively, and that would bring us likely back down to a little bit below 6,900 with a chance to break this then descending triangle to the downside, which would lead towards a measure move of like 6,100-ish region as we looked at earlier. So that's what I'm looking at for right now. Still think that we're gonna have to probably wait a little bit longer until we get CME's opening later today. Remember, CME's did close at 72.30, so we likely do kind of hang around here, hang around where they closed on Friday, as it is trading near parity with spot, maybe a little bit of a premium right now. But remember, CMEs are still heavily bearish, still holding the 21, which is maintaining our downtrend. And of course, we got the death cross riding over here, and not the prettiest chart of all time, I'll put it that way. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind changes on everything. I'll probably be back on later tonight with another Twitch live stream. Really looking forward to that, as it's been a shit ton of fun. And with all of that said, I want to remind myself that the sale starts tonight, midnight UTC, whenever that is. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm UTC +2, so at 2 a.m. my time, whatever that might be for you. And it'll run through the end of the year, which I also forgot to mention. And of course, if you do have any questions about it, just send them my way. It's more important to make sure that's good fit than just rush into it. Don't FOMO into the programs. Usually the answer is going to be that it's not for you, like especially if there's legitimate questions, because you know if it's for you or not, really. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for now. As always, wish you a lovely bear Jesus infested or bull Jesus infested or just goat Jesus infested Sunday over here from Helsinki, Finland. Take care, and until next time.